How's it going, everyone? Marriland here, and that's right, it's time for more of Marriland's Pokemon Brilliant Diamond Adventure! Last time, I accidentally killed Sinnoh's god, so this time I'm gonna go find some of the other Pokemon that are in Sinnoh mythology, and hopefully I won't accidentally them this time around, right? So yeah, I'm talking about the Lake Trio. After you've done everything on Mount Coronet, you fought against Dialga or Palkia, then the Lake Trio will appear at their respective lakes. So you'll find Mesprit over at Verity Lake, Lake Verity specifically. You'll find Azelf over in this one, Lake Valor, and then Uxie all the way up in Lake Acuity. So these are pretty strong Pokemon. You'll want to get them. I recommend being at least level 50 while trying to catch them because, yeah, if you're lower level than that, you won't have a very good time because it'll be a little bit of a penalty. So I'm gonna fly on over to Pastoria City. A good idea is to get some Quick Balls and some Dusk Balls. I also strongly recommend taking along a Dark type Pokemon because that will make catching these Pokemon so much easier because they only use Psychic damaging moves. So if they can't damage a Dark type Pokemon, you'll be pretty good. So yeah, in Pastoria City, you can buy all the Dusk Balls and Quick Balls you have money for. So I recommend having about 40 of each, maybe even more. And I know I bought 13. Whoops, I want more Premier Balls. Let's just buy 20 of those. And then Quick Balls are a good idea. Well, I already have plenty of those. You might want healing items just in case, but you know, if you have a Dark type, thankfully they don't have Uproar like they did in previous games. I think they had Uproar. So there is always a way around that. But in this, it's just like Extrasensory and Psychic, so it should be pretty easy. So let's go ahead and start with, we're gonna start with Azelf. You know what? I had a really good idea. So before going to, well, wherever I want to go, I actually decided to go to the underground in the northwestern part of Sinnoh because I want to get a Sneasel. I actually think Sneasel is a really good idea if you're looking for a Pokemon to help you with these fights. Now, you can find them in the Acuity Lakefront. You can find them on Route 217. I think even Route 216. But you want to go underground because it's at level 46. And that's a little lower level than I'd like. But it's definitely higher level than the ones you would find, you know, outside of the caves. So what I'd recommend doing, I'd recommend catching one of these, and ideally, if you can, get it up to level 50, but if you don't feel like it, that's fine too. The reason is, like, it's fine even if you don't have it at level 50, because the main goal is to use this thing to use False Swipe. It's a Pokemon that can learn False Swipe, which is pretty nice. It's a TM you can buy over in Veilstone City, its department store. And that won't knock out the opponent. It won't knock them out. Like, it'll leave them at 1 HP if it would. So, since it doesn't take any damage from Psychic type moves... Oh, perfect. That actually had me a little worried there. Let's see if I can catch it now. Since it doesn't actually take damage from Psychic type moves, it's a great Pokemon to use, especially against Azelf and Uxie. Mesprit is a little bit different of a story because, as you'll soon find out if you're not already aware, it runs away, so... I mean, it can still help there. It's very fast, so you can use False Swipe and not worry about knocking it out. Oh, Guillotine! Wow, okay. You know what? Let's not do that. That could be fun, though, just for kicks. But yeah, let me get this Sneasel a name. We're gonna name him Chili. I don't really know why, but he just seems kind of cold. Alright, so, oh, Ice Shard. That actually might not be bad here. So it doesn't come with it built in, of course, but we can just teach it via TM. Also, remember how I was complaining a little bit ago how there's, like, no good Ice-type Pokemon down in the Icy Cave? Well, that does thankfully seem to change after you have gotten your 7th gym badge. I'm assuming that's when it happens, because, again, I checked this out, like, right before getting the 7th gym badge, And there weren't as many cool Pokemon around. I mean, there's just Bronzor and Baneri for the most part. Now there's like Snover, there's Sneasel. There's a lot more Mr. Mime too. That might just be Brilliant Diamond, I don't remember. But, I mean, there's still some of the aforementioned Baneri and Bronzor and stuff, but man, but when I checked last, it was miserable. Like, it was absolutely miserable. So I was just fighting a few more Sneasel just to kind of get an idea of the level range. It looks like 46 is the highest I could find. I saw as low as 42. I don't know if it goes to 47 or not, but anyway you look at it, a higher level Sneasel will be better than a lower level one. If you can get it up to 50, you can use it to help catch things. Otherwise, again, there's a penalty. Although I honestly don't know if that penalty applies for catch rate 3 Pokemon. Whoops, that's not what I want to do. All right, anyway, let me get that taken care of. I'll see you in a moment. Okay, so in the Veilstone department store, the upper counter here should have False Swipe right here, TM54. It's only 2,000 Poké-Dollars, which is really nice. That is nothing at all to worry about. I don't think there's anything that much more. However, Swords Dance, I mean, if you're going this Sneasel route, you can set up a bunch of Swords Dance, and that'll make it so much easier to use False Swipe to weaken them, because it's a very weak move on its own. Alright, so as you can see here, I have this Sneasel now with Swords Dance and False Swipe, which will be pretty helpful here. You could use a Heart Scale in Pastoria to teach it Taunt, or you could use a TM for it. And that can kind of be nice, because then you're basically making it so Azelf and Uxie will only use their, like, damaging moves, which don't even affect Sneasel, which is really convenient, because then by the time Sneasel's done, by the time you switch Sneasel out for something else, you can just use, something else against it, and you don't even have to worry about being hit. Anyway, let me make my way to the Valor Lakefront. We'll test this out. Okay, so I am at the Valor Lakefront, and I have some good news for you. The Lake Valor itself, it has its water again. The Magikarp, they can flop around. Well, actually, they don't even need to flop around. They can swim around all they want now, which is great. So, shoot, encounters. All right, I put a Super Repel on. That should help. So yeah, you can surf all the way down to the bottom here and find... Well, there's nothing really here, but I guess if you go to the bottom right instead, there's a nice little patch of, well, actually, it's a quite sizable patch of grass, really. But it has TM25 Thunder. Yeah, another TM you can just buy. In fact, for that matter, you could in the original games, too. Like, that one was affordable. But it's there, so that's nice. Anyway, here is the cave, and now, instead of it just being an empty cave, which you really couldn't access before, there is the Pokemon Azelf waiting right here. So I recommend you save your game before talking to Azelf here, just in case you knock it out or something like that, or it knocks you out, or it knocks itself out. Like, it could easily knock itself out if it runs out of power points. I saved before I went in here, just, I double checked my footage like from before. It's always the worry when, playing. It's like, oh, I hate saving, because if something goes wrong, there's no coming back from that. Now, the only other thing that I didn't really mention is I brought along Squirrely. I recommend doing this as well. Well, don't take my Squirrely. Please use something of your own. You can go catch a Pachirisu if you want. But really, anything with Nuzzle or Thunder Wave or something that can paralyze it is recommended. Now, Sleep is probably the best of these status conditions to affect a legendary Pokemon with, but since it doesn't last forever, you'd have to keep reapplying it. Whereas with Paralysis, you apply it once and then it lasts for the whole battle, which is kind of nice. So that's what I'm going to hopefully do. All right, well, here we go. Time to fight against the first of the Lake Trio, Azelf. Okay, sorry, I had to let that play for a little bit. It sounds so good. Okay, so hopefully Azelf won't go for a damaging move, and I can get this nuzzle off. Okay, well, this might be bad. It's not the end of the world. Oh, look at you, Squirrely, you're hanging in there. Oh, I'm so proud of you. Yeah, realistically, you could also just go down to the underground and get another Pachirisu. I don't know if it would have Nuzzle at that point, but, you know, that's fine either way. Since I have Super Fang, might as well use it. This is another fantastic move for weakening Pokemon to get them to the point where you can catch them. Yeah, there's that nasty plot. Azelf is one of the scariest of the trio to fight because it can use Nasty Plot, which raises its special attack by 2 stages. And it already has a pretty high special attack stat, so it will do a lot of damage. Yeah, right now it's at +4. That's pretty scary indeed. Pretty scary. But the good news is, it is weak enough that I should be able to send Chili out. And now, Chili doesn't have to worry about getting any damage from this thing. It can Nasty Plot all it wants, and it shouldn't really matter. Yeah, look at that, Psychic. So it has Psychic, Extrasensory, as you saw there. It also has Nasty Plot, and I think its final move is Imprison, which shouldn't really matter. I'm gonna use Swords Dance here, which is part of my original strategy, but I forgot I had Super Fang, which works just as well, I'd say, or at least earlier on. Like, you know, if I could pull it off, great. So, False Swipe, this will get it down to 1 HP. Yeah, there we go. And at this point, well, at this point, you can switch out to something else, or you can just toss balls at it and hope that works. I forgot to get Timer Balls. These are also very good. They have an even higher catch chance over Dusk Balls after 10 turns have elapsed, so they are really good to have. Also, I have to say, I really like the battle scene in here. Like, look at the reflection. It's really cool, you know, the reflection in the water of both Azelf and of Chili here. Yeah, this might be a lost cause, again, because I'm at a lower level. I'm fortunate enough to have a Dark-type Pokemon already. Like, I could just bring in my Honchkrow anytime, and that's fine. But you might not have that luxury if you don't have a Dark-type, which is particularly noticeable if you're playing Shining Pearl, because you don't have access to Skuntank either. So you're missing out on Skuntank, you're missing out on Murkrow. Or a Honchkrow. So yeah, definitely a little trickier if you're playing Shining Pearl. Yeah, I'm probably gonna switch out here. And again, if you can like wait it out a little bit, that's fine. If you lead with a Quick Ball, that's fine. It has a catch rate of 3, so it is very tough to catch. It's not easy at all. But Dark-type Pokemon render it completely useless. There's nothing it can do against them. So it's basically free at that point. Jeez, it just does not want to stay in here though. Okay, there we go. Caught it in a Timer Ball. It took a lot of effort to get this thing, but yeah, that strategy worked quite well, I have to say. Tons of experience for catching it, my goodness. Now, you do need to see this thing. You do need to at least fight it once. Like, it's kind of like Dialga or Palkia, where if you knock it out, it will respawn after beating the champion. So that's pretty good. So I'm going to name you Will. Not really like the name, but you know, like Willpower. That's the Willpower Pokemon after. Wow, Timid. Hey, that's actually a really good nature on this thing. Yeah, so it looks like it has a total of 60 turns, but if you paralyze it, you know, any turn that it's paralyzed, it won't be able to, well, it won't deplete any of its PP. So I guess that's a fair amount of time for it. So this is a fantastic Pokemon to use, by the way. It is an amazing Psychic type. It learns a lot of really strong moves by a TM. Like, I know Thunderbolt is one of them, so I mean, it's great. Like, it has Nasty Plot as well, so you can easily set up with that thing and just have a great time. It's a really good Pokemon. Like, if any legendary, I definitely recommend that. But yeah, so that's cool. So that's one down. Let me go get the next one. We're gonna go get Uxie over in Lake Acuity. So one thing I definitely needed to do is buy more timer balls. You can do this up in Snow Point City, actually, and I recommend, I don't know, 20 to 30 or so. Again, these are used towards the end of the fight, so you shouldn't need that many of them, but they're still good to have. All right, so let's go ahead and make my way towards the Acuity lakefront. All right, so I'm back at Lake Acuity here. I did revisit this place, and I did get the item in the corner over there. But if you hadn't gotten that already, I think it's Blizzard, the TM for Blizzard. So pick that up if you haven't already. It's a good time for it. But anyway, here is another of the Lake Trio. And I, again, recommend saving before fighting it, just in case. Thankfully, this one is not as rough. However, if you use special base attackers, it certainly can be kind of tricky because it has a lot higher defenses and it uses Amnesia to raise its special defense stat by a lot. But it doesn't have anything that powers up its special attack like Azelf, so that should make it a lot easier to attack and to take down. Well, to weaken at least. Let me go ahead and use Nuzzle against it. Shouldn't have to worry. It is, I think it's a little slower. Maybe not, I don't know. Hey, good job, Squirrely, I'm proud of you. So yeah, again, my strategy, I recommend paralyzing it from the get-go here with Pachirisu or whatever Pokemon you have. And since I have Super Fang, I'll use that. Otherwise, using Sneasel, just set up Swords Dance a bunch and just use False Swipe and that'll be fine. Actually, probably only need 1 or 2 Swords Dance. But Super Fang is definitely a quicker way to lower it, to lower its HP. 2 of those and you're good. There we go. Well, this Uxie just doesn't want to do anything to Squirrely. I mean, at this point, I think I'll switch out for Chili. I think I'm gonna go with 1 Swords Dance. We'll see what that does. A Swords Dance and a False Swipe. Wow, this Uxie's been paralyzed so many turns. It's kind of crazy. Okay, so we'll set up the Swords Dance here. Yeah, there's that Amnesia, so that makes this thing quite bulky, especially if you're using any kind of special based attacker to weaken it. Yeah, it's pretty bulky anyway. Like, you know, that was after +1. Now, I know it's at a higher level, but still. Okay, there we go. Now it should be at 1 HP. Should be good to go. Now I just get to throw balls at it until I catch it. Hopefully it'll be easier than Azelf was. So again, Dusk Balls are pretty good against it because I do believe this is a cave. Although, I don't know, maybe not. I'm playing it in the daytime. And it seemed like they were breaking out so consistently. In fact, they even tried some Premier Balls just for kicks against Azelf. And I actually had better success with those than Dust Balls. Like, they were shaking more. I don't know if that was just coincidence or not, but it is kind of making me wonder, maybe they didn't program the dust balls to work in caves like they should. Like, I wouldn't rule that out. Because, I mean, it's not even shaking. Oh, although I do have Sneasel out. That's the other problem. Like, again, I recommend switching out to something else. And if you have something with Amnesia or something that with Calm Mind that you can raise your special defense, you can also just tank hits a lot better. Like, you don't need to have a dark type against Uxie. It's helpful, but it's really Azelf that's the one that you need it for because it has such high special attack with the nasty plot that it will 1-hit KO your team after it sets up, and that can be very difficult to recover from. Now, alternatively, you could catch Uxie first and then bring it to Azelf, and you wouldn't suffer that penalty, because you can just set up Amnesia over and over, and that kind of gets around Azelf's nasty plot, so, you know, maybe consider doing, oh, okay, cool. I didn't even have to, like, cut this or speed it up or anything. I got it fairly quickly, which is great. So much better than Azelf. But yeah, you could catch this one first and then use it against Azelf, and that's fine. Obviously, you wouldn't be using False Swipe there, but that's fine. Okay, so this is the Being of Knowledge. So let's call you No, as in it knows something, not as in no. Relax nature. Oh, that explains why it hit so well. It did have a little extra defense there. So yeah, this is all it has. Again, 60 moves total, so you got time for it, but be mindful of that. All right, so that is 2 down, and I saved the best for last, so give me a moment. Okay, so for the final Pokemon, oh, you can't keep up. You're supposed to be fast. For the final Pokemon, we need to return all the way back to the beginning, to Lake Verity. And yeah, let's use another one. So let's do that. Now what I recommend for this is a little different because this one you'll have to chase down. Oh boy, my favorite. Yeah, so this is gonna be fun. So since it doesn't sit in one place, it's really important that you weaken it a bit, but not enough to knock it out. And, you know, you might not be able to pull off like that Sneasel False Swipe strategy. So it's still a good idea to afflict it with a status condition. So if I can afflict it with Paralysis with Squirrely, that's great. But otherwise, something that can help is give it the Quick Claw. Let's move your Quick Claw to Squirrely. And Squirrely might be able to outspeed it. Like, she is fairly fast, but I'm not entirely sure. It's a coin flip, it depends. So let's talk to Mesprit here, the final of the Lake Trio, and it'll just like teleport away. But you'll have another visitor for this one. It's Rowan, since he's kind of close by.
Marriland, that was Mesprit, wasn't it? You've accomplished what I'd asked you to do at the Canalave Library. I asked you to get data on the Pokemon of the lake, and you did. But it didn't provide any answers about the mysteries of evolution. I still don't know why some Pokemon evolve and others don't. Ultimately, it only deepened the mystery. But having mysteries to solve, that adds to my enjoyment. Marriland, why don't you chase after Mesprit? To me, it seemed as if it wanted to play with you. If you were to use the marking map app on your Pokédex, you'd be able to track the movements of Pokemon. Go on, Marriland. I'm sure that you'll keep meeting countless Pokemon and people. Those encounters will keep thrilling you in their own special ways. I hope you'll enjoy that experience. Take care, Marriland.
If you don't have the marking map, he will say, oh, well, I guess you don't have that, or something like that. To get it, just go to Jubilife City and go to the building on the west, like the far northwest, the Pokédex app building, the Pokédex company building, whatever. And that's how you get it. So this is one time where the Pokédex, oops, that's not what I wanted to do, where the Pokédex app is actually pretty helpful here. At least I think. I don't think I actually caught Mesprit and Shining Pearl. I'm like, I'll do that later. So it will show up as this little kind of weird face thing. That indicates that's where Mesprit is. And you will be tasked with finding it. And every time you move to a new area, it will generally move to an adjacent area here as well. So it's kind of wild. There are a few places that I find work really well. Like, for some reason, I like Salacion Town with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave that up in the corner, and I'm going to fly to Salacion Town. But also another really good spot, because it has 4 kind of places you can go through, is Jubilife City. Although this one is in a building, and I think that kind of messes with it. So that's why I just tend to like Salacion. All right, so from here, I just like to ride my bike and keep an eye on it. And again, every time you change to a new route or area, it will change too, and it will kind of... Oh, I shouldn't need to use a repel here, but I do recommend having a repel because you'll want to have that when you finally arrive on the same route as Mesprit. So then you'll repel any of the other weaker Pokemon. It's not necessary, but it does basically guarantee you'll find it. So what I like to do is just kind of ride back and forth here. It's probably better to use the D-pad, just, I don't know. It's kind of a pain. I'm thinking back to what I did in... Come on, I just want to position myself here. I don't like using the joystick thing, because it's just harder to go back and forth. So maybe this isn't really the best spot. I really don't know. But I'll go with this for a little bit. Okay, so we're really close. So at this point here, if we look at this, it is actually on the northern part, I'm pretty sure. But that means it can go either to the west, to the east, or to the south. Now, if it goes south and I go south, I'm gonna be here while it's here. But that means if I go south again, it might end up going south with me. And that's usually what I want. That's why I like this. Okay, so I didn't do it there. So we're kind of like off by 1. Yeah, see, now it's technically on Route 210 south. When it's up here, it's on the northern part. So it is a little different, even though you don't see it's separated there. So, yeah. So from here, I'm just gonna hope it goes south and then I'll meet it. Also, the bike was just really bad for this. Okay, so it went north. Oh, it just teleported. So I gotta start this all over, darn it! Okay, I'm finally on the same route as it, finally. And looking at the map and in thinking about it, I honestly do think that that is still the best spot, like Salacion Town. I know it looks like Jubilife is better, but I find that there's just the right amount of forks in the road over here. So anyway, here it is, Mesprit. Now, you don't have to encounter Mesprit in order for it to be counted as seen. As long as you've talked to it in the lake, that will register it in your Pokedex for a completion. You don't have to encounter it in the wild in order to do that, so don't worry, this is technically optional. All right, so I don't know if I'm going to outspeed it or not. I'm gonna hope I do. Okay, I do. That's really good. It's gonna run away, but that's fine because now it'll be paralyzed. And any damage that it takes or any status conditions that it has, it will maintain for your next encounter with it. So paralyzing it is a great idea. Also, putting it to sleep is really good too because you don't ever have to really worry about it waking up because it's just gonna flee. And yes, it does flee while it's asleep. So I don't really need Squirrely anymore. I can use Chili here. Or I could use something else if I really wanted, but I don't know. I don't want to knock it out. And that's the problem with this happiness mechanic. You get surprise critical hits a lot more often, so that's kind of a pain. That's why I recommend just playing it safe, but you could also use a quick ball. Just again, remember, don't use something that's level 49 or lower because you'll suffer a penalty for trying to catch it. So if I'm leading with my Sneasel here, it's just because I want to weaken it a little bit. And the advantage of paralyzing it too is it means any of your Pokemon, or at least any at a reasonable level, should be able to outspeed it, which is good. Because otherwise, it's not like the fastest thing in the world, but it is level 50. And, you know, it's not slow, so you might not have every Pokemon able to weaken it. All right, I'm going to be at this for a while. Or not. It showed up pretty quickly. So you don't need the repel, but it does help. Definitely helps. So like you can save a little bit of money if you don't use it. But as you can see, most of the time you'll run into it anyway. So I'll have a paralyzed Mesprit here. Oh, really? I should have used Super Fang and thinking about it. That actually would have been smarter. Let's just see how much False Swipe does, just out of curiosity. Oh yeah, that's gonna be very pathetic. Not even really worth it. So honestly, I do recommend Super Fang to weaken it because you can use Super Fang 2 or 3 times. Like, paralyze it first, but then go for Super Fang. I'm just trying to set it up so it'll be easier to catch down the road. Okay, so here's an interesting situation. This is why I like Salacian Town, by the way. So I just moved south into Salacian Town, and it just moved over to the southern part of Route 210. It was over here, so it moved here. But this then gives me the ability to walk south and hopefully have it follow me there. It's these, like, kind of branching paths, both over here and over here, that kind of give you options. And I like that as opposed to Jubilife. You know, everyone will have their own approach, but, you know, just in case you're wondering why I'm here instead of Jubilife, that's why. It gives you a little bit more course correction. All right, here we go. Another attempt. So, yeah, let's try this out with Squirrely, who I guess doesn't really need the... Darn it! You're not what I want. Now, sometimes if you go into a battle and it's not Mesprit, sometimes it will, like, go to another area, but not always. So, you know, you don't need the repels, but if you don't use them, you're kind of risking that it might just flee and go somewhere else without you even encountering it. So that's why they're nice to have. They are a little costly, but it's worth it. You can also just buy normal repels too. You only need it for a few steps. Okay, so let's use Super Fang here. This is a great way to weaken it without any risk of knocking it out. I'll probably use it again, and then I'll be in business. Well, here we go again. This is pretty boring. I know what I'm going to do. I'm just going to use a Super Fang, and that should be fine. Now, something important to keep in mind, it's not like weakening the Pokemon is extremely exponential or anything. Like, you know, it's not like the chance goes way up if it's at 1 HP. Like, even if you can get it to about 25%, that's fine. Like, the difference isn't necessarily worth... Oh, okay, I want to go south now. So this is why I like Salacian Town. I know I just mentioned it, but it's just... It's so good for that. I think I still have my repel up, right? Yeah. Well, I might as well use another Super Fang here, but like after that, I'm not gonna bother using False Swipe to weaken it because again, it doesn't actually adjust the chance as much as you think it does. Like, I don't know, when I really looked into the numbers and calculations and stuff, I always thought growing up that it was a lot more noticeable. Like you really wanted to get it as low as possible. And the reality is it's gonna be hard to catch even at that. Okay, so it is now in the capture phase, as I'll call it. If you have something with Mean Look, by the way, that is great. Like, by all means, go ahead and use Mean Look. The problem is, not a lot of Pokemon can get Mean Look, and the most obvious ones that are fast would be something like Golbat, which, sure, you could find underground, but then Mesprit's going to knock it out after you've, you know, Mean Looked it. I mean, you could try that. I think maybe I can get this with Honchkrow, but I wouldn't really bank on that. That's not really an option if you're playing Shining Pearl either, because you get Misdreavus instead of Murkrow, so yeah. But I'll just see, just out of curiosity. Yeah, there it is. I mean, I could just get Mean Look really fast and basically be done with it, because then there's nothing that Mesprit can do. If I feel like I need it, I'll do that, but otherwise I'm just gonna stick with this for right now. But that's there. Like, I like to try to do things that, you know, anyone playing could follow along with, and this is fairly specific because it doesn't really help Shining Pearl players. But know that that is an option. All right, here we go again. Now the fight begins. Now I have to actually try to catch this thing. Ugh. The good news is quick balls should work like 100% of the time for efficiency, as long as you're not using mean look. Oh shoot, you know what? Repels are not going to work though. That is a problem. That is a problem. So yeah, don't use repels then. Okay, I guess I have to switch out and suffer from the penalty. But yeah, that kind of stinks now. You can't just use that strategy. It's like, oh, right. If you are at a lower level, I guess if you're at level 50 on the dot, that would be good. I'm not though, so that's not really going to help me. So I have to suffer the level penalty. Well, this is gonna be a pain. All right, well, here we go again. This time I'm not going to use repel. I'll still run into it, and this is probably the better approach to go because they just love to break out if you're at a lower level. It really stinks. So it's something they added in Sword and Shield. And to be honest, I don't know how it affects Catch Rate 3 Pokemon. Maybe it isn't as noticeable there, but it is a pain. Hey? Okay! Great! Well, I mean, I'll take that. I mean, the first one barely even count because, you know, I wasn't at the level, but yeah. Yeah, there we go. Okay, here I was thinking, I'm gonna be here for hours. Not quite as good as my original Diamond Adventure, but I'll take it. Ooh, this is a tough one. Dance wants to learn high jump kick. That's such a strong move. 130 power, but if you miss, you take like half of your max HP and recoil damage. It is really a pain. I could get rid of Drain Punch. I could do that. I really should do that. I really should. Oh, man. Like, the healing's good, but you just don't do enough damage. This would give you a lot of extra damage output. I mean, the problem is I already have a good fighting type Pokemon, so you know what? I'm just gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. I'll give you the Wide Lens as well. The Wide Lens is fantastic to use with high jump kick, because then it's like a 99% chance of hitting. All right, so there we go. The final one of the elite trio. The elite trio, I was about to say. It's like, wait, that's not it. So yeah, let's give you a name. I will name Mesprit Feel. Because, you know, feelings, emotions. Yeah, so quirky by nature. All right, it's fine. So yeah, you know, it's okay. It's kind of more the more balanced one of the trio. Kind of a mix of attack and defense. It's okay, but it's probably the worst because, you know, it doesn't really excel at anything specific. But it has Charm, and Charm's pretty nice. Okay, well, that is the Lake Trio. I feel pretty good about that. It took some time for sure. Let's get rid of this thing. Oops, there we go. All right, so I think that about does it. Let's take one more look at them before I head off. But overall, I think this strategy worked pretty well, all things considered. I do recommend that if you're trying to catch them. Looks like Pachirisu is the way to go. Nuzzle to paralyze them, Super Fang to weaken them. When it gets knocked out, just switch for a Sneasel, unless you're fighting Mesprit, and then just do that. And again, if you are playing Brilliant Diamond, like, you can go get a Murkrow underground, and it should be able to use Mean Look, and that should work fine. Or you can use a Heart Scale on it, or whatever. Actually, I don't remember Murkrow. You might need a Honchkrow, but again, at this point, you have a Dusk Stone, so you can just use that. But yeah, here they are. Let's take a look. Whoops. Let's do this. Just to take a quick look at them. Yeah, there's Azelf, Uxie, and Mesprit. They're all caught in different balls. That's kind of cool. All right, anyway, I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you on the next episode of Marriland's Pokemon Brilliant Diamond Adventure. See you next time, everyone.